Tryouts might be the most difficult and annoying part of coaching. And I'm actually about to go into tryouts in about 3 weeks. So I thought I'd take you behind the scenes of how I do tryouts, what my process is, so that you can steal it and make tryouts less stressful for you. And if I haven't met you, I'm Coach Bree. I am a mental performance coach for girl athletes. I'm also a 14-year head volleyball coach. I've led my team to 4 state championships. So I have done a lot of tryouts. I've ran a lot of tryouts, been a part of a lot of tryouts, had to make difficult decisions that I sometimes regret. And I want you to be able to have the resources to not do the same thing, take the good and don't make the same mistakes that I did over the years. So let's get into it. I'm just going to take you through what I've been doing and what I'll be doing as a part of my tryout evaluation. I coach volleyball, by the way, but this applies to all sports. So our tryout evaluation actually starts right now. So if you're a high school coach, you probably in your off season are having your kids, do some sort of off season training or workouts. For us, we actually train quite a bit in the summer. We train 3 days a week for like 3 hours. We do a combination of weight training. We also play. So this is actually where I get to see athletes over a long period of time. Like our summer, I think is like 8 or 9 weeks. I get to see them play. I get to see them interact with each other. I get to see their leadership skills. So I tell athletes, I'm actually very clear with them. Yes, the evaluation happens the official evaluation happens at tryouts, but you're being evaluated right now in summer because I get to see you so much, and that actually helps form some decisions. So it's not official, but I am in my head evaluating, kind of piecing together what teams could look like. And, you just get a lot of time with your teams. We also do camp and all of that. And I get to see how they respond to feedback, how they respond to mistakes, how they interact with each other. So that just kind of happens all throughout summer. The other really important thing I do in the summer is I talk about my tryout process. I make sure the expectations are clearly laid out so that everybody is on the same page, including parents, as we head into tryouts. So at the end of my emails, I send out an email almost every week in the season. I put on there a tryout FAQ document. So it's been on there since May, and it has all of the FAQs that you could think of for tryouts, including making sure that you're cleared and eligible to participate, how we make decisions. I put my rubric on there on what I'm evaluating for each position. I talk about how many teams we pick, how many athletes per team there are, everything on there so that it's already out there and it's communicated. And part of that is I need to know as a coach what the answers to some of those questions are, as far as how many people can be on a team. Can seniors be on varsity or not? If they made a team in the past, are they guaranteed to make that team again? All of those things you got to know ahead of time. I just throw all that into the FAQ document so that people are just kind of knowing what's expected of them before they go into tryouts. Okay, when I actually get into tryouts, we have 2 days, 2-day evaluation. We're in, we're out, we're done. Okay, now that might not work for you, but I don't like to spend a whole lot of time in my season doing tryouts because my season has started. And so I want to get it done and I want to form teams and I want to get going because we have a game in 10 days or something like that. So 2 days, 4 hours a day. I know that's kind of a lot, but I don't know, or maybe not. Maybe you do more than that. I, though, don't have huge numbers at tryouts. So I have about 60 that come out for 36 spots that I have. So I do have to make tough decisions, but I know some of you are dealing with hundreds of people at your tryouts. So it is a little different. Everyone that comes in, we give them a little name tag so that we know who they are. Super big. I also I don't do this as much because I actually see so many of my players in the summer, so I know them already. But when I was newer and I didn't know players, I used to take their picture and so that I could actually print it off and make sure that I knew who they were as I was making decisions later with my coaches. And we're who was that girl? And it's easy to have a picture. So I used to do that. I don't do it anymore, but they check in. I have them put what position they've played before, or if they're trying out for a certain position, but you don't have to do that. It's sometimes helpful. It's also though, sometimes I'm just going to evaluate you and put you where you should be. But as they come in for day one, I talk about what I'm looking for in each position. I have it narrowed down to 2 or 3, almost a job description for each position that I have. I talk about what I'm looking for as far as even on varsity. If I have 7 returners, those 7 are guaranteed pretty much to be on varsity again. So I have 5 open spots and I'm looking for, certain positions in those 5 spots. So it's very clear what I'm looking for. We play a lot of the sport at tryouts. And I know that might sound silly, but I used to do tryouts where we'd run the mile, do vertical testing. I do not do any fitness testing because I am looking more for who can play the sport and play the position. It's going to be pretty obvious what their fitness is when I see them playing. Now, there is a place for it if you're trying to weed people out, I suppose. if them running the mile is your way of like assessing some of the work ethic on your team, then there's that. I do see there might be value in that, but I don't want to waste any time doing fitness testing when I'm really looking at like who can play and who can play the position well. I want to see them playing the sport. So not to say you shouldn't ever do fitness testing or things like that, but I wouldn't dedicate a whole lot of time to it. I'm not going to measure your vertical because I can see, can you jump high and hit hard? Your vertical isn't going to like make a huge difference for me. So maybe it's different in your gym, but that's how I go because I really want to see them playing the sport. Okay. So day one, we evaluate also all the skills. So we rotate through. I like having extra hands. So I like, have returning players come back or have volunteers who are facilitating drills so that I can evaluate. I've got my evaluation criteria. So I have all of the skills that I am evaluating. I rank them on a scale of 1 to 4. You've got to have data. It's annoying sometimes, but like in our school, like we have to have data to back up our decisions. So have some sort of concrete data. I know sometimes you're like, I don't know what to put here, but like just do your best so that you have some sort of evaluation, especially if you have to make tough decisions or those cuts. Okay. Sometimes I make cuts after day 1 so that we can kind of thin the herd and focus more on day 2, like who is there. Day 2, we get more position based. We put them in high pressure situations to see how they respond. Still a ton of gameplay. That's going to be the most important evaluation criteria for me is like, how are they playing? I like to also do little small sided games where I'm grouping players and giving them scores and they're getting evaluated that way. But I'm really looking at like, okay, who is standing out also with the intangibles, right? So things like their leadership, their communication, their mental game. So how are they responding to mistakes? How are they dealing with those pressure situations? All of those are things that I like to evaluate and look at. But I also know that I train those things once the season starts. So the mental game is, while important to evaluate a little bit, for me, we incorporate so much of it into our season. We train it about 20 minutes a week, once a week, which actually isn't like a whole lot of time, but it makes a big difference. So I know that like, yeah, they might not be the best at maybe recovering after a mistake, but I know I'm going to be training that. So can they take care of the ball? Can they, how are all these other things that I'm evaluating? And so, yes, I do evaluate the intangibles, especially leadership. How are they as a teammate? How is their attitude? But I also know that I'm going to be training the mental game in them as the season starts. And that's also going to help them become even better. So if I can see some potential there, knowing that like I'm going to help them, and give them a skill to come back from a mistake faster and deal with pressure. Like, if they're mentally tough and that's what I'm developing in them in the season, then I'm feeling pretty confident about my decision. So if you want to learn the really easy things that I do in my season to train the mental side of the game so that you don't have to like just count a player out if they aren't quote unquote mentally tough at tryouts, then go to coachfreetraining.com. That's where I break everything down. I talk about the top 3 skills that I train every single week in practice to create mentally tough teams. And then I talk about my plug and play elite mental game system that makes it really easy for you as a coach to do the same thing, even if you don't have a ton of time or if you're not a sports psychologist, because you don't need to be to teach these skills. In fact, you don't even need to teach them. You let me teach them. You just plug, play, lead a little short discussion, and they've got the skills. So that's at coachfreetraining.com. All right, that is the quick rundown of tryouts. Start in the summer, start early with your expectations. Make sure you have an evaluation, list out all your roles on your team and what you're looking for. Make sure you have them listed out. I have a little sheet where I have their names. I have on a scale of 1 to 4, how are they demonstrating these things? Use that to be your guide, but also don't be afraid to go with some of this gut feeling as well, and what as a coach your program needs. All right, coaches, good luck with tryouts. Comment below what your tryout best practices are because I want to learn from you as well, and I'll see you in the next episode.